And I'm so excited to see all of you who are coming on. So remember to tell us where you're tuning in from. Do tell us where you're tuning in from. And I am here in London, not at Mapperton. I'm here in London, but I'm here with Sir William and Lady Alison Hanham. So I just wanted to say, you guys can say hi to everybody. And yeah, where are you? So William and I know that Alison's going to tell me that we can just call, when you guys have questions, exactly, Allie. But technically you are Sir William and Lady Hanham, which is brilliant. So where are you sitting right now? That's the question. I think all of our viewers want to know, where are you? Because we've seen your house.
We're sitting in the main hall, the center hall. So the room when you came through the inner hall, by the fire. Very warm in here this evening.
Brilliant. And who do you have on your lap?
We've got little Buster here, who, if you remember, followed you round the entire estate, didn't he? Down to the kitchen garden.
It's brilliant.
Every room.
So, I know, I love it. We all love Buster. So questions are coming in. Oh my gosh, we have, I will get to this. Holy cow. We have a lot. So, this is, gosh, there's lots of questions coming in already. First and foremost, though, before I say hi to everybody, we have almost all 50 states represented here, which is absolutely incredible. And if you're not from the States, do tell us where you are from in the world. I just want to quickly say thank you to our co-production partner for American Viscountess, and especially for these live Q&As, which is aonia.com. And what aonia.com, we're just going to share a screen really quickly, it's a brilliant place. It makes it really easy and quick for people to find out what online events are available from different museums in the USA and the United Kingdom. So for example, on this screen, you can see several museums, including the Met in New York and the V&A in London. And the second screenshot, do we have that, Stephen? You can see there we go, all the online talks and courses and virtual tours that they'll be holding over the next few months. So they've got events linked to their current exhibitions, events for kids, online lessons to improve your own painting and drawing skills, and so on. So lots of really stuff here. And I think this museum has like over 40 online events there, all of which you can find at aonia.com. So do check out aonia.com to get your art and culture fix. So with that said, we are here, and I'm just going to start quickly with to say we have so many people from around the world. So do keep telling me where you're from. We've got somebody from South Wales. We have, oh my gosh, we've got somebody watching close to you guys, Sherburne in Dorset.
Yeah.
We've got Dorset, Canada, Hampshire. John's here from Ionia. Brilliant. We've got Victoria Page, our series producer and director, tuning in. So we're going to start with the questions. And question number one, Allie, this is for you. Jean asks, does Lady Hanham fly fish with Sir Hanham and Guy Maynard?
Well, I go watch them, if I'm totally honest. I don't think, and I've sort of, put my feet in and been swimming in the river, but I haven't actually tried the fly fishing.
Haven't handled a rod.
Haven't handled a rod, no. I have had, lots of entertaining in the shack.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we have people over, we do have drinks in the shack.
Yeah, well, the shack was amazing. I mean,
shack in summer is fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Good place to go for a barbecue in summer and tiny bit of fishing.
Yeah. Okay. And how is Guy? Have you fished with him since, William?
Well, the fishing season is pretty closed at the moment. It opens for us in the middle of April, but we are working on the river. We're clearing. We're making improvements to the shack. We're installing an off-grid shower and all that sort of thing. So we're getting ready. But it's the 15th of April. It opens for fishing, and hopefully soon after that, the mayfly will appear, which is of course a big highlight for trout fishermen.
Of course, if you are, I mean, my husband's very much into, and so is our 14-year-old, very much into trout fishing. So they might come and since we're so close. So everybody who's joining in, just so you know, Mapperton and Dean's Court are about an hour. We're about an hour away from each other.
Less now.
Yes, right? 45 minutes? Maybe it's 45 minutes.
It's not a big distance, but it's the roads in Dorset, isn't it? They're not good.
Exactly. When you're in the southwest of England, you just don't really have the big roads that, well, at least I have found when you go more north of England, there's some big roads up there.
Did you know that Dorset's the only county in England with no motorway? No section of motorway. Yeah. And in the 19th century, it was the only county in England virtually that had no canals, which is why time has passed Dorset by, and we're still pretty much stuck in the pre-industrial era here.
We are, and but we have to admit, don't the three of us have to admit, it's rather wonderful, isn't it?
It is.
Country lanes everywhere.
Yeah, wouldn't have it any other way.
No, exactly. So, oh gosh, we've got somebody from Argentina. We've got Wales here. We literally have New York, California, and every place in between, Florida, Ireland. We've got Berlin has tuned in, Arkansas. I love that. Oh my goodness. So I'm gonna go to William for this one first, and then I'll go to Ali for this one second. So the question is from Jesse. William, what part, if you can pick one, of Dean's Court do you like the most and find the most peaceful, the most tranquil?
I think it has to be the green drawing room, which you filmed with Lottie doing her embroidery in it. There's something about that room. You walk in and you feel it's the color and it's the light. Light is something we're a bit starved of in certain parts of this house, like this room, for instance. But it's lovely when you're walking through the house and you walk through this very dark paneled hall, and then you come out into the drawing room and you've got these big windows, and in the morning it's just gorgeous and the light comes flowing in, and it's just a really pretty, very, very calming, relaxing room.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Looking over the garden and doors.
Yeah.
It is absolutely. So speaking of Lottie, everybody, Lottie has embroidered, and obviously it's the long way around, but this is AV. If you, and we can be honest with that scene, we hadn't even put it into our schedule of what we were going to be filming. We just found Lottie in there embroidering when Maisie was off for a nap. And I thought, oh my gosh, we have to film this. This is just wonderful. And again, as you were saying, William, with the light coming in. And so Lottie has embroidered 4 beautiful napkins for us with the tiara here and AV. And do follow me on Instagram, American Viscountess, that Instagram, because we will be auctioning these off later this week for the start of season 2, American Viscountess, where we have 6 homes this year. And we'll be auctioning this off. And the funds from this goes solely towards the production of American Viscountess Historic House series. So, I mean, Lottie's amazing. So her story is brilliant.
Lottie, Dan, and Maisie have sadly moved out. They've moved back to London.
I know, they're near me in London. We're again, Southwest London, which is brilliant. So the same question for you, Ali, was and maybe you will agree with William, maybe you won't, but what part of Dean's Court do you like the most, or what do you find for yourself the most peaceful, the most tranquil?
Well, I was just thinking about that actually when you asked Willie, and I would say for me, it's the library. Can you remember the library, the room, the blue room, of
course,
grey that you talked about, the ring in, for exactly the opposite reasons, because the most wonderful room in the winter when the wood burner's lit, the shutters are closed, is an incredibly cozy room. It's sort of completely the opposite to the morning room, drawing room. Yeah.
And the paint color is fantastic.
Yeah, the paint colors are lovely. Yeah, it's probably, and also one of the rooms that we've sort of completely done ourselves, isn't it? Yeah. We chose all the, probably the furniture slightly, the bookcases were there, but the Yeah, the sofa's ours and the chairs are ours.
Yeah,
We
it's
bought
more of a
them.
drowsy
Yeah.
colour in there,
Yeah.
whereas the green drawing room kind of wakes you up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. But
No,
it's quite nice having rooms for different times of the day,
Different moods.
different
it
moods.
is
Yeah.
different moods. Exactly, exactly. So I have a question here from Smiling Shadow, who's from Arkansas, USA, and says, "I love your channel. Thank you so much, Smiling Shadow." And the question is, was the house used for anything during the Second World War?
That is a very good question. And the records that we have don't show very much apart from fundraising. There were all sorts of little fairs, and there was something called a pound fair, where I think people brought all sorts of things and donated them, and everything was on sale for £1. And what we have got are some quite fun posters from the 1940s, handmade posters, which they put up all over the town. And they were just done in watercolor and pencil. So it was obviously not raining when they were doing that. But we don't have much information. Fortunately, the house was not requisitioned by the Ministry of Defence, as so many of these country houses were, because I think it wasn't big enough. It didn't have enough bedrooms. It just wasn't suited. And that was a lucky escape from us, because an awful lot of these houses in England, these big country houses, were pretty damaged. And they took a lot of putting back together. And some of the damage was appalling done to these houses during those years of the war when they were occupied by the army. So that
Can you explain a little bit more, William, just to our viewers, because we have a lot of viewers here who are from America, and during the Second World War, obviously, in America, apart from Pearl Harbor, we weren't fighting, if you like, we weren't worried about, in one sense, somebody invading us, like the same way that happened throughout Europe. Can you explain to our American viewers here what happened during the Second World War, and this requisitioning of these houses, and why the government chose, obviously, the houses that they chose? I mean, I know, but I think it'd be really for everybody to really understand how the war greatly impacted, obviously, many countries in Europe, but in particular, of course, the UK, and what the UK was trying to do during the war by requisitioning these houses.
Yes, well, I mean, it's a very good question. And of course, we had a lot of American troops over here during the Second World War, and they needed to be billeted and put in large places, so that they could get on with training, get on with the job and planning the war. And Blenheim, for example, is a very good example of that. And I think there were American Air Force men stationed there during the Second World War. But any house of a particular size in this country, as long as it wasn't too far north, was taken over, because the Ministry of Defence needed houses, they needed space. They simply didn't have the infrastructure in the army to suddenly put up this influx of fighting units from, not just from America, but of course there were a lot of people coming in from Eastern Europe, a lot of Poles who came and particularly flew in the Battle of Britain. So we were very short of space, and these houses were just literally taken over. The Ministry of Defence said, right, get out, we're coming in. And they turned all the grand rooms into dormitories or offices. And of course, the grounds, these big parks that a lot of these houses had, were perfect for training, for artillery, and for all sorts of sort of combat training as well. And I think ones which had flat enough land were probably used for airfields too. Without the country houses, there would have been a severe shortage of places for these incoming troops from all over the world, really, to be posted. A lot of it before, and particularly, of course, before D-Day, the country was awash with troops from overseas getting ready for the big invasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's extraordinary. And those of you who obviously follow along with, where we've been filming at through these historic houses this season, we will be filming at Hinchingbrook House, which is technically one of my last names. Viscountess Hinchingbrook, and Hinchingbrook was sold, as you both know, after the Second World War. At least it survived and it wasn't demolished. But we will be visiting Hinchingbrook House in March. I'm going to go visit Hinchingbrook and film there with my father-in-law, the Earl of Sandwich, who grew up there. But during the Second World War, Hinchingbrook House was also requisitioned, and it was requisitioned as a hospital, a convalescence home for soldiers to recover in. So it was requisitioned then, and I know that there was also damage done, when my husband's grandfather and great grandfather returned to the house after the Second World War as well. I mean, how could there not be? But yeah, it was and they had no choice. And it was the right thing to do, of course, for the war.
Did they get any reparations from the government afterwards or not?
I'm not sure, and I'll have to find. I think when we're filming there at Hinchingbrook House, it's now a school. We're filming there in March, and these are the questions that I'll be asking my father-in-law, and I'll also be filming with my husband's aunt, so John's sister. I'm going to film with both of them together, just so they can go around the house, which is now a school, to talk about what it was like before it was sold, because it was sold in 1955.
Right.
So we have, this is a repeat question for both of you. Jean has asked, and several others, do the Hanhams anticipate opening the interiors for touring anytime, or do you do that?
We do.
We do. Yes.
Not every day of the week, but we do a 28 days a year, which is something it's an obligation that we have for various reasons. And then we open it up for tours. The house doesn't lend itself just to what we call free flow public access, people just wandering around. Tours are much more suitable, but it's not open, a huge amount.
No, it's not open in the winter. It's mainly the summer. In fact, the first opening this year is the Saturday, the 1st of April, free tours, and Saturday and Sunday the 2nd. And then it might be sort of like a Wednesday, and then it's sort of it's not regular days. Not regular days, no.
Is that right? Right. And how can people find out about your opening hours?
On our website. Look on our website. Yeah.
Just Google Dean's Court.
Stephen, who's in the background always, can put that in the chat, everybody. So do check out Dean's Court. I have quite a lot of more questions to go through. So I'm gonna, and I will get through all of them as much as I can. We've got the Martin is the name using is hello from Sherburne. While maintaining the traditions and the fabric of Dean's Court and running all the businesses, are there? This is from Martin. Are there any plans which were dreamed of but as yet not realized?
Hello, Martin.
Yes.
We know who you are.
Hello, Martin.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah,
we have lots of plans, don't we,
lots
Ali?
of plans, and some of them might be dreams, but we'll have to. I think these houses maybe evolve a bit as you go along, and you start. You try some things and they don't work as well as you thought they were going to work. So you try something else and that works brilliantly. So you continue doing that. And I think the whole time you're thinking of actually what you could do with certain parts of it and how you could improve things. Yeah, I think
big plans for the kitchen.
Yeah.
Which everybody has. I think,
oh, you mean do it? Yeah, the
kitchens.
kitchen, but also around the kitchen garden area. I think we've got sort of plans. We'd love to sort of. We've got the yard, and we'd love to. It's got a couple of sort of tumbled down old barns and a work. We'd love to sort of improve on that.
Because you're going to break through the kitchen, aren't you, into the other kitchen?
Yes. Yeah, love to. That might be a dream.
And extend that terrace overlooking the herb garden because it's a bit narrow at the moment. But these are slightly pipe dreams at the moment, but hopefully, yeah. And we've also got plans for the morning room, which you remember, which is, as you remember, a mess at the moment.
Yes.
That we want to turn into a proper muniments room or an archive and get all the interesting documents and maps and historical material from the house organized into one place and conservationally managed.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is important.
Muniment room was one of my new words when I first moved over here and married into the family. I had no idea. So those of you asking what's a muniment room, I didn't know either, but it's really like the archive room that you would find in large country houses. Is that right? I think I'm expressing it as simply as possible. Yeah. So it's because these houses have been lived in, and in William's case for, nearly 500 years by the same family. So you have obviously, 5 centuries of archives, and you need a place to store them.
Yeah. It's very easy for them just to actually get lost over the years if we don't actually do something about it.
And to get damaged. These houses are, as you know, Julie, are often damp and cold, which is not the ideal environment for works, for particularly things, paper objects and documents.
Yeah. No. And we need to obviously preserve them. I just want to say a huge shout out to Milagro and to Teresa Ann, who have both donated. So there's a way that many of you are so kind, because you can use the super chat on YouTube and you donate. All donations go towards the production of American Viscountess. And when you become a patron at American Viscountess, all of that goes towards the production costs, because we have travel costs. We have a brilliant series producer and director, Victoria Page. We have Stephen and Claire, who are our first and second cameraman and camera woman too. And also the editing that goes into this. It's luckily we don't have the huge expense of enormous networks, but we do feel that our programming is just as good as other networks, but we do have costs that we need to cover, and we want to pay people properly. So thank you so much for those donations. Another question. Okay, I'm really trying to get through them. Sorry, everybody. We have someone's asked, this is really interesting, Ali. Is when painting needs to be done, is there a specific color palette you choose from, or do you consult on it? But you can probably answer it because you are an interior decorator yourself, aren't you?
Really, I've just done. I don't know if we're allowed to mention Farron Ball.
Yeah, of course.
So Farron Ball, very luckily, are based in Wimborne, or just outside Wimborne, and have been here since they started 35 years ago. And so very quickly, when we first came here, we got together with them, and we've got a sort of affiliation where they show journalists around the house, and they provide all the paint, which does narrow it down a lot. I was thinking this the other day, because when we come to do a room, we've got to use Farron Ball, or else I can imagine it would take yonks for me to choose if I had to, so many now little small independent fabulous paint companies. I'd have all the colours out. So actually it does narrow it down a lot that I can only use Farron Ball, and Farron Ball are great. So
also we have they have a wonderful consultant called Joa Studholme, who occasionally comes in and will give us advice, and she's absolutely brilliant because she knows about matching colours and placing colours, and how they work and vibrate together. And she's really
she recently
useful.
did a year ago we did the cottages, gave them a sort of great big makeover, and she was very involved in cottages.
That's wonderful. So speaking of cottages, before I get on to several questions here, I've got one from Kathy, and I'm going to get it, Jennifer, it's all coming. Kathy, speaking of cottages, people can come and stay, can't they? So just tell us about what you have to offer. I know we saw it a little bit, and we didn't go into cottages when we were filming, but if you can explain and where people can book, is it through Airbnb, all of that?
Well, again, it's through our website. And there are 2 little cottages, which were originally the gardeners' cottages. There was a medieval barn that was turned into cottages in about 1750. We think they're charming. 2 little cottages, sleep 6 each, and a little shepherd's hut. And then we've got one we call the party house, which is where a lot of our wedding parties stay. It sleeps 16. It's the just at the front of as you go through the gates, the gatehouse.
Yeah, the gatehouse. It's beautiful. I saw it. It's right when you enter.
Yeah.
So if you are interested, now that travel, hooray, is opening back up,
at last,
especially to the UK. So if you are booking And, I'm just going to give a little bit of a plug to Mapperton. If you're interested in really coming to Dorset, which, I'm not biased, but maybe a little bit, but I do think it's one of the most beautiful parts of all of England. And like we were saying earlier on, if you're just joining, it's about a 50-minute drive between Dean's Court and Mapperton. You could easily do it in a day, and to visit both of us, which would be really brilliant. And so do check out Dean's Court website. Stephen's going to put it in to book, to stay. And you saw the video episode that we did on Wimborne Minster. There's so much to do in the town. You literally cannot believe that you're at Dean's Court, which is so peaceful and tranquil, and all of a sudden you walk out and you're in this brilliant historic market town of Wimborne. So you can walk everywhere. You don't even have to hire a car or rent a car, I should say, American. You can take the trains and then you can literally walk everywhere. So it's brilliant. All right, questions. I promised everybody that I would get to these questions. So we have Mary would like to know, how many rooms is Dean's Court? So how many rooms? I know that we get that question a lot, and sometimes it's hard to actually put a number on it, but roughly.
There are 18 rooms, 18 bedrooms altogether. A lot of them aren't actually used as bedrooms. There's storage and all sorts of other things like that. That's on the second, the first and second floor. So add another 10, say probably 30 rooms altogether, I should think.
Yeah.
Some of the bedrooms are, as you remember, Julie, are huge. So when they put the Georgian wrap around the old Saxon house, they only put 5 bedrooms in, and they were just 5 enormous bedrooms.
Yeah, they're enormous.
They didn't have big families in 1725, but by the time of the 19th century, they were having enormous families. I mean, we have one ancestor of mine in the 1850s had 13 children, and that wasn't unusual.
Right.
So they had to suddenly start pushing more bedrooms, squeezing more bedrooms into the house in those days. Increase the number of rooms.
I mean, 13, I have 4, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like that's quite enough for me.
Yeah.
13. But if you if you haven't watched all the episodes, do watch it, because when we went into the Mauve room, which was where beautiful Amy Hanham obviously stayed when she was mourning, that is one of the that was one of the large Georgian rooms, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm always actually quite grateful. This house, 30 rooms is obviously an awful lot, and it does sound very big, but as English country houses go, I'd say it's on the small side, luckily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Longleat's got 200.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lord Barnes always said, there were rooms in the house he'd never been into during his whole life. So.
Right. Well, it's the same with Mapperton. I think we've got 58 or something, which I know sounds like a lot, but it's not compared to, as you said, Longleat or other ones. It's manageable. It's manageable.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just right. So Jenny, I'm just going to answer your question, and then which will move on to Jennifer's question. So there's a Jenny and a Jennifer who have both sort of asked a similar question about, do manor houses have their own websites that sell their products? The answer is yes. So we all usually have our own online shops. And that leads me to then Jennifer's question. She loves your shop, Ali, and can you order online?
Well, I mean, I have had a few people from America actually since the program was out, and they've sort of just emailed me. They've emailed Jonathan, who runs the estate, and it comes through to me, and little bits and pieces I will send, but obviously I'm not really an online. That's a whole nother ball game, isn't it, to have an online store, and it's not really an online store, so not really.
Yeah.
But I don't mind doing an odd few things.
Yeah. So if there's something you like, but I think really just come and visit. Then they can have the pick of the litter in your beautiful shop, and they can eat in the cafe and stay in one of the cottages. It'll be a whole experience, and really immerse yourself in history, dating back obviously 1,300 years. So I've got a question from, and maybe William, this, when was Dean's Court wired for electricity and plumbed for hot water?
Good question. When my father inherited in 1974, there were electric lights in most of the rooms, but there was virtually no electricity feeding, power, what we call power sockets, what we call a ring main. There was virtually nothing in the way. You couldn't just plug in a record player or a Hoover in any room. There were 1 or 2 gas lights still in place that worked. And my father, who was a very practical man, actually did the rewiring of the house himself and an awful lot of the plumbing that was required, because when we arrived, there was 1 bathroom in the attic and 1 bathroom on the first floor. So 2 bathrooms servicing 18 bedrooms, 2 toilets, and that was it. So we've improved on that quite a lot in the last few years.
Put in the 30s, probably, haven't they?
And crucially, we've put in some heating, because there was no heating in this house whatsoever until 5 years ago. But Ali and I bit the bullets.
About 10 years ago.
Well, when was it? 10
years ago, yeah.
But we put some heating in.
It was freezing, yeah. And it's amazing, actually, the difference with just a small amount of heating makes. Like putting the new bathroom that we created last year, just putting a big radiator, that warms up the whole end of that corridor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was in that bathroom. It was beautiful. Yeah, no, I mean, putting in heating, it's a massive expense, and it's one of the biggest projects, apart from maybe I don't know, is it the roof? Is that a bigger project, or is it heating? I'm not sure.
The roof is so important, isn't it? I mean, a house is only as good as its roof. Do you have a lot of problems at Mapperton with your roof?
Well, luckily my in-laws put a new roof up. Oh gosh, Luke's probably going to be like, that's wrong, but I think maybe it was 20 years ago, and it's still okay. Might be even less than that, but our roof is all brilliant. Yeah. So we've got just a couple more. Jean has a great question. Gosh, you guys are having amazing questions. Jean asks, could you please explain Wassailing at Dean's Court? Wassailing, I should say. I always get that wrong because it's so hard. I can't pronounce it the proper English way. I'm so American.
I do that one.
You do that one.
Yeah. Well, the word is an old English word, so it goes back to sort of the sort of 500-600 AD, something like that. And it's Old English, and it means good health. Was, hail is health. And it's a tradition that's morphed and changed throughout the centuries. There's no strict prescribed way you can do a wassail. The main idea is you get into the orchard, and it's all about orchards and apple trees primarily. And the idea is you scare off the evil spirits who are going to damage your harvest. And you can do that any way you like, but it does always involve a lot of noise. And everybody who attends usually brings pots and pans and trumpets and all sorts of things. And we get the local druids in, who are wonderful people. We also have our local militia. Now, that's not to be confused with what an American definition of a militia might be at the moment. These are people who dress up in 17th century red coats, and it's a sort of reenactment brigade. And we have a group of people who call themselves mummers, and this is a traditional form of theatre that happened in the outdoors, going all the way back to the Middle Ages. So we get these traditional groups of people in, and they perform and they play act, and we drink this drink which is called the wassail, which is a punch we make out of our own apple juice. Quite a lot of brandy and cider goes into it as well. And
out the wassail mug.
We heat it all up in a huge cauldron, and that gets passed around. And the one important feature of the wassail is the wassail cup, and this is a traditional cup which usually has 8 handles. And the idea is it's a sharing cup. And pre-COVID, we would fill that cup, and it used to be passed around everybody. On our last wassail, we had to be a little bit careful about that.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And also the Queen always comes into it.
Oh yes, and we have a Queen, and she's always sort of dressed up very beautifully in medieval costume, and she has to climb up one of the apple trees and sit there looking lovely.
And hang bread, which comes into it.
Yeah, the bread gets dipped in the wassail cup and then hung on the tree. And there are all sorts of other things that the druids do. They hang all sorts of talismans all over the place. And this year, with the one we've just done, they brought along 4 witches who were positioned at 4 different trees. And there was a bit of theatre getting rid of them and telling them to get out of the orchard. So you can do what you
can
like.
you can make it as fun as you want to make it.
The main thing is to have a lot of fun and make a lot of noise. And we have in the past, we've had cannons and we have muskets, which are used to scour the trees, in other words, shoot into the trees. Anything you want to do to scare off those pesky evil spirits.
Well, the good news is, everybody, is when I saw it on Dean's Court Instagram site, which, by the way, do follow Dean's Court. Stephen will put that in into the link there. You just had it a few days ago, didn't you?
Last week.
And then I was emailing saying, as many of you know, on the last, I think it was with Iford Manor and Gardens, when I was with William on the live Q&A with William and Marianne, we are discussing, obviously, revisiting. So what we really want to do is we want to be able to go and revisit the homes, and maybe we can't get to all of them, but hopefully we can, to revisit the homes where we just come for a half day. So I talked to William and Marianne about coming for tea because of William's knowledge with tea, and making a platinum pudding with Jack in their cafe for obviously the Platinum Jubilee. And I just emailed, or I put it, maybe it was on your Instagram, saying this sounds like something we need to come and revisit. And so we would love, and I think everybody here would love us to come and just film that night, revisit, and experience it. Even if you can't make it live, you can experience it, some of it maybe through the screen. So that's in my head diary for next year.
Yeah.
Right. People out there who haven't got a clue what we're talking about, if they look on our Instagram, they'll get a sort of little tiny reel of it.
Exactly. And it was a great reel. So do follow Dean's Court on Instagram, because that's where you can really link into their website. You can find out about tours, cottages, obviously the Wassailing, all of that. I'm going to, Texla says, I'm going to tell Texla in the nicest possible way. It says, how long has Sir William's family lived at Dean's Court? Watch the episodes and you will find out. So go back and watch the episodes there. And we've got a really lovely comment. I'm just going to read it out from Marnie, and then we'll start to wrap this up, who says, I was so enchanted by all the episodes and aspects of Dean's Court, from the tranquil fly fishing to the amazing interiors, the church treasures, and the beautiful ring and music maker. So thank you, Marnie. That is
that's very kind of you, Marnie.
Really, really kind. And I think I'm gonna do one more question. I'm sorry I can't get through all of them, but we're going to wrap it up, because I think it's quite a funny question. from Jennifer Nash, and she asks, do you have leak issues like Mapperton does?
Yes, we do.
Oh, yes.
In this room. In the middle of the night, about 6 or 7 years ago, suddenly, that dreaded sound of gushing water hitting a floor.
Torrents of water coming through the house.
Yeah. Darted downstairs, and there was literally that from that window. I'm pointing at it.
We gathered up every single towel in the house, and we were 4 o'clock in the morning mopping up. And this is just down to a pigeon that decided to build a nest in the wrong place in the roof, where there was a gutter. And so you've got to be on top of it. We now check our roof once a week, every week, to make sure that there are no blockages, and that all the rainwater goods, as we call them, are free and clear. But yeah, we live in fear.
That's right. It's a constant struggle. But we appreciate the struggle that we've been given. That's for sure. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up here because we've gone over. So I just want to say thank you to William and to Ali for taking out this, 40 minutes of your Sunday night, and to chat with me, and to chat with all of our wonderful viewers who have asked just brilliant questions. Everybody, if you haven't watched all the episodes, you can see on the American Viscountess playlist, season 1. You can watch them from beginning to end, or you could just hit the playlist and you'll be able to go straight to Dean's Court and watch them all. Do please spread the word. And of course, I'm a little bit biased towards Dean's Court because of course it's very near to Mapperton. So I think now that we've opened up, we would love to see you in Dorset. There are so many things to do in Dorset. And as William said at the very beginning, we don't have those big highways, as I call them in America. So it's a little bit, I don't know, I just always think it's a little bit calmer down in Southwest England, and the beautiful valleys and all around. So thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you everyone. Yeah, for listening to us.
Yeah, and we'll see you. I obviously will see you before then, but you will definitely see William and Allie next year, next January. We will be filming that Wassailing for sure, for sure. So bye everybody. Thank you so much, and get excited for Rockingham Castle, which is going to be premiering this Saturday. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.